Hello dear students, welcome to this lecture. Today the topic of our deliberation is violent conflicts against state-led development. Some of the core objectives of this lecture are to explore and grasp the concept of state-led development. Second, develop a comprehensive understanding of violent conflicts. Third, to analyze the interplay between violent conflicts and state-led development. Fourth, to discuss relevant case studies along with the types of conflict. And finally, I will discuss some of the important preventive measures. By the end of this lecture, you will have a comprehensive understanding of violent conflicts and state-led development, and you will be equipped with the critical analysis and skills to assess and examine their interconnections. Let me begin by talking about violent conflicts. A violent conflict involves at least two parties using physical force to resolve competing claims or interests. While a violent conflict may involve only non-state actors, often the term is used as synonym for war which involves at least one government. Violent conflicts are characterized by the use of physical force to achieve political, social, or economic objectives. These conflicts often arise from a multitude of factors, including historical grievances, ethnic or religious tensions, economic disparities, and political power struggles. Recognizing the multifaceted nature of violent conflict is crucial in formulating comprehensive and sustainable solutions. The consequences of violent conflicts are far-reaching and profound. Moreover, these conflicts aggravate poverty, hinder economic development, and impede social progress. The ripple effects extend beyond national borders as they can fuel regional instability, trigger mass displacement, and even provide fertile ground for the rise of extremist ideologies. It is imperative that we address these conflicts promptly and effectively to safeguard global peace and security. Now let us talk about the state-led development. State-led development occurs when the government is actively involved in economic planning, ownership of enterprises, subsidizing production, and managing competition. It entails utilizing the state's administrative resources as a catalyst for growth and development, as well as a tool for central planning and redistribution. The arguments in favor of this approach are primarily centered around the fundamental economic structures of underdeveloped societies, their nascent markets, and the lack of sufficient entrepreneurial capacity. This is precisely why the state has emerged as a crucial economic actor in developing nations across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, engaging in various forms of state intervention. In some instances, the state's role has facilitated rapid industrial evolution and fostered equity. However, in stark contrast, there have been cases where governments and bureaucrats have exploited their own society's economic wealth, hampering progress and enabling the transfer of resources to inept and ineffective leaders. Moreover, state-led development has yielded mixed results in different contexts. While states have played a role in alleviating certain societal problems, they have also exacerbated others and given rise to new challenges. It is essential to acknowledge the complexities and nuances inherent in this approach. Thus, state-led development represents a multifaceted phenomenon that demands careful consideration. While it can be a powerful force for positive change, it also carries inherent risks and challenges. A comprehensive understanding of the potential benefits and pitfalls is crucial for policymakers and stakeholders alike as they navigate the path towards sustainable and inclusive development. Dear students, now let me talk about the interplay between conflicts and state-led development. Development-induced conflicts are not a recent phenomenon. Throughout history, we find plentiful examples of clashes between those advocating for progress and development and those resisting change. Whether it is the indigenous communities fighting against land encroachments during colonial times or environmental activists protesting against deforestation in the present day, conflicts have always been present in the development narrative. Conflict against state-led development refers to situations where certain groups or communities express opposition or resistance to development initiatives that are spearheaded or mandated by the government. These conflicts against development can stem from a variety of factors. Some common causes often lie at the heart of these disputes. For example, issues like unequal distribution of resources, environmental concerns, displacement of indigenous population, competing interests, cultural or ethnic tensions, or lack of stakeholders' participation can all contribute to conflicts as discussed a little later in the lecture. These conflicts can be peaceful, aggressive or violent depending upon several factors and socio-political situation. These conflicts can have both direct and indirect consequences on development projects. Directly, they can lead to delays, budget overruns, and even cancellation of projects. Indirectly, conflicts can create a negative investment situation, discouraging foreign aid, disrupt social cohesion, or hampering the overall development of a region. Overall, consequences of violence against development projects can go beyond the immediate project at hand, affecting the broader socio-economic fabric of a community, inter-community and ethnic conflicts involving human and economic costs. In addition, these conflicts not only disrupt the implementation of development projects but can also lead to social unrest, economic instability and even armed conflicts. From local grassroots movements fighting against large-scale infrastructure projects to international disputes over resources, conflicts have far-reaching consequences that can impede progress for years, if not decades. Similarly, unplanned and economy-driven development projects can have long-term and immediate consequences. For instance, displacement of communities, the loss of livelihoods, decline of cultural institutions, environmental degradation, loss of access to traditional and cultural heritage. These impacts can have long-lasting effects on the affected population, aggravating poverty, inequality, and demographic change. Therefore, understanding the causes, consequences, and resolution strategies surrounding conflicts against state-led development is important for policymakers, practitioners, and stakeholders working towards sustainable development goals. Dear students, now let us explore and analyze some of the causes of violent conflicts. As discussed earlier, development-induced conflicts have emerged as a significant issue when it comes to various development projects around the world. These conflicts arise due to inherent tension between the drive for progress and the impacts it has on local communities. Now, let us explore and understand some of the common causes. First, perceived injustice. Communities or groups may resist state-led development if they perceive the development initiatives are unjust or biased. This perception could stem from unequal distribution of benefits, resource allocation, or political favoritism. Second, marginalization and exclusion. If certain communities or groups feel marginalized or excluded from the decision-making processes related to development, they may resist state-led initiatives. Lack of representation and voice in development planning can lead to opposition. Number third, land and property rights. Development projects often involve changes in land use, and if local communities feel that their land and property rights are not adequately recognized or respected, it can lead to resistance. Land disputes may escalate into conflict against development. Fourth, cultural and social impact. State-led development can bring about social and cultural changes that some communities may resist. This resistance may be rooted in a desire to preserve cultural identity or traditional ways of life that are perceived to be threatened by development initiatives. Fifth, environmental concerns. Development projects can have environmental consequences, and communities may resist initiatives that they believe will harm the environment or disrupt ecosystem crucial for their livelihoods. Sixth, economic disparities. If the benefit of state-led development are not distributed equitably, with certain groups disproportionately bearing the costs or not receiving fair compensation, it can lead to opposition. Economic disparities may fuel conflict against development. Seventh, lack of consultation and participation. Opposition may arise when communities feel that they were not adequately consulted or involved in the decision-making process for development projects. Lack of transparency and meaningful participation can breed resentment. Eighth, historical grievances. Past grievances related to development projects or land acquisition may contribute to ongoing resistance. Historical injustice or negative experiences with state-led development can shape current attitudes. Ninth, political opposition. In some cases, political factors may drive opposition to state-led development. Opposition parties or political movements may use development issue as a platform to criticize the government or gain support. Number 10, external influences. External factors such as non-governmental organizations, international agencies, or advocacy groups may support or amplify local resistance to state-led development programs. Involvement and interference of external influence can contribute to the complexity and intensity of a conflict. Legal and regulatory concerns. If communities perceive that state-led development projects violate existing laws, regulations, or their rights, they may resist based on legal grounds. Legal challenge can become a form of conflict against development. While this list is not exhaustive, it highlights common causes and factors that contribute to conflicts arising from state-led development initiatives. Dear students, now let us talk about few case studies relevant to the topic. Despite the existence of numerous conflicts and movement opposing state-led development projects within and outside country, this lecture will focus on two significant and pertinent case studies from South Asia. First case study is Silent Valley project in Kerala and another is Narmada Bachao Andolan. First, Silent Valley project in Kerala. The Silent Valley, one of the few remaining undisturbed rainforest areas in India, lies in Malabar region, the least developed section of the state of Kerala at the southern end of the Western Ghats. During the early 1960s, the state government began planning a dam for a Kantipuza river, which flows through the valley to generate hydroelectricity as the basis for regional economic development. The Kerala People's Science Movement is a network of rural school teachers and local citizens that promote environmental scientific projects in the villages. The movement acknowledged the obvious economic needs of the people of Malabar, but concluded that the Silent Valley project would make only a marginal contribution to regional development. Thus, the group opposed the project with a campaign that brought into sharp focus the ecological consequences, specifically the possibility of extinction of species that had evolved over millions of years. Villagers in Kerala also learned that new industries and clear cutting of timber in the upper watersheds of the river were contributing to disruptions of streams and water supplies. The movement began to challenge the idea that energy generated by the dam would benefit the rural people of Kerala. Most of the energy from the project was to be exported to industrialized areas of Kerala and surrounding states. The movement asserted that the local environment would be disrupted with benefits going to Thiruvananthapuram, the state capital. The state government favored the project, but other environmental groups expressed doubts. After years of activism, the movement persuaded the government to appoint a high-level committee to examine project's environmental and socio-economic effects. The committee subsequently recommended abandonment of the scheme, which the state government accepted in 1983. The controversy over the Silent Valley project marked the fiercest environmental dispute in India and established a precedent wherever a major development project, specifically a dam, threatened ecological balance. For instance, Save the Narmada movement cited the decision about the Silent Valley in mobilizing support for its stance against dam projects. The campaigns and petitions were the main strategies adapted by the activists in the movement. Basing it on the non-violent Gandhian ideological orientation, the protest against the destruction of forest and opposition to ecologically unsustainable development, and above all, maintenance of the ecological balance. The other important case study here is Narmada Bachao Andolan. An ambitious development project was launched in the Narmada Valley of the central India in early 1980s called Sardar Sarovar project. The project consisted of 30 big dams, 135 medium-sized and around 3,000 small dams to be constructed on the Narmada and its tributaries that flow across 3 states, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Maharashtra. The project was described as a multi-purpose mega-scale dam. Its advocates say that it would benefit huge areas of Gujarat and 3 adjoining states in terms of availability of drinking water, water for irrigation, generation of electricity and increase in the agriculture production. However, in the process, it will displace 1 million people and will submerge 3,50,000 hectares of forest land and 2 lakh hectares of agriculture land across 3 states. Issues of relocation and proper rehabilitation of the project affected people were first raised by local activist groups. It was around 1988-89 that the issues crystallized under the banner of Narmada Bachao Andolan. Initially, the movement raised issues of resettlement and rehabilitation of people being displaced by the dam, but soon the focus was shifted to preserving the environmental integrity and natural ecosystem of the entire valley. The movement has used the project as a symbol of Indian development planners' fascination with costly projects at the expense of environment and the poor people. The withdrawal of the World Bank funding was a moral victory for the movement. The movement is spearheaded by native tribals, farmers, environmentalists, and human rights activists. The mode of campaign under Narmada Bachao Andolan includes court actions, hunger strikes, rallies, and gathering support from notable films and art personalities. The movement continued a sustained agitation for a few decades and used every available democratic strategy to put forward its demands. In the year 2019, Narmada Bachao Andolan leader Medha Patkar and many persons affected by the Sardar Sarovar Dam have launched an indefinite protest demanding relief for the displaced people by the dam. Throughout its history, the movement remained peaceful and implemented democratic means to achieve its objectives. There are few other important examples of the environmental movement in India, such as Ganda Mardan Hills in Odisha, Jangal Bachao Andolan in Jharkhand, Chipko movement, etc. These movements have pushed India to formulate a rehabilitation policy in the year 1993 and other acts such as the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act 2013. Dear students, now let us talk about some of the important preventive measures. Overcoming these challenges require careful planning, engagement with the local communities, and sensitivity to the underlying grievances and aspirations of those involved. Only by addressing these challenges head-on can development projects hope to make progress in conflict-prone areas. Given this, to resolve these conflicts requires the implementation of effective conflict resolution approach and techniques. This includes engaging in dialogue, mediation, and negotiation to find peaceful solutions. Building trust among conflicting parties and promoting inclusivity are crucial for successful conflict resolution. Investment in conflict prevention measures and early warning systems can help identify and address potential conflicts before they escalate. Additionally, local communities and parties directly affected by conflicts play a crucial role in conflict resolution. Their participation and engagement are essential for sustainable peace-building efforts. Their insights, experiences, and needs must be taken into account when designing and implementing conflict resolution and development initiatives. Empowering local communities to be active participants help us ensure that solutions are tailored to their specific contexts and challenges. Finally, implementing effective grievance redress mechanisms is essential in resolving conflicts that do occur. Providing affected communities with accessible avenues to voice their grievances and seek compensation or solutions can prevent conflicts from escalating further. These mechanisms should be independent, transparent, and capable of holding development agencies accountable for any negative impacts caused by their projects. Dear students, now let us conclude this lecture. Conflicts induced by development are not new phenomena. Throughout history, societies have consistently shown reluctance in accepting and adapting to changes brought about by various developmental projects. Unfortunately, their reluctance has frequently transformed into resistance, ultimately resulting in violent conflicts in certain cases. These conflicts often arise from a multitude of factors, including historical grievances, ethnic or religious tensions, economic disparities, and political power struggles. Recognizing the multifaceted nature of violent conflicts is crucial in formulating comprehensive and sustainable solutions. The consequences of violent conflicts are far-reaching and profound. Human lives are lost, communities are torn apart, and infrastructure is decimated. Moreover, these conflicts intensify poverty, hinder economic development and impede social progress. The ripple effects extend beyond national borders as they can fuel regional instability, trigger mass displacement, and even provide fertile ground for the rise of extremist ideologies. Therefore, it is imperative that we address these conflicts promptly and effectively to safeguard global peace and security. Resolving violent conflicts requires a professional and systematic approach that combines diplomacy, mediation, and peace-building efforts. Engaging all relevant stakeholders, including governments, civil society, and international institutions, is essential to foster dialogue and promote reconciliation. By encouraging open communication, identifying common ground, and facilitating negotiations, we can pave the way for sustainable peace agreements. Additionally, acknowledging the multifaceted nature of conflicts, whether they are resource-based or socio-cultural, can help inform appropriate conflict resolution strategies. By taking these factors into account, development agencies can work towards a striking balance between progress and local concerns, minimizing the negative impacts of development projects on communities. By investing in conflict prevention and resolution strategies, communities can break the cycle of violence and instability. Simultaneously, implementing inclusive and sustainable development practices ensures that progress is equitable and resilient. Balancing these two aspects is key to fostering long-term peace and prosperity in conflict-affected regions. So, dear students, that's all about today's lecture regarding violent conflicts against state-led development. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. See you next time with a new topic for deliberation. Till then, take care. Goodbye.